Hi, I'm Deanna, and today I will be teaching you about Job 11. So we're going to first do our normal recap. I love to do this each time to help everyone remember about the previous chapters. It helps us keep it fresh in our mind. And so we're going to go through very quickly the first part of Job, which is essentially that he has a very large family, 7 sons and 3 daughters, and God has given permission to Satan to strike everything he's had, but not to take his life from him. And so he goes through a very difficult time with painful sores on his body. And even his wife wanted him to curse God, except he chose not to. His friends came to visit him and just sat with him silently for several days. And then his friends began to start to tell him that this is happening because of sin that he's done and he's deserving this, and so he should repent and then God will bless him. And Job speaks to his friends about how painful this is to him because he did not do anything in his opinion to deserve this. Not that he is sinless, but that he didn't do anything in particular to deserve this treatment. It goes on to then Job talking a lot about how he has no more hope and he wants to understand what God has done. And then kind of some other friends come into the mix here. So far, it's Bildad and his friend Eliphaz that are talking. And then Job continues to talk about his pain and suffering and requests his desire for a mediator in this case. He's super defeated and becomes more and more bitter, but at the same time, he never chooses to take his life and never curses God, though he, of course, has many questions. So we'll jump into chapter 11. So who was talking in chapter 11? Go ahead, Theo Ralph. I think that's you. I only see a red shirt.
Zophar and Job.
Right, Zophar is talking to Job. So this is another friend of his, not Bildad and Eliphaz who talked in the past, but his name is Zophar. How would you classify like Zophar's attitude and demeanor to Job when he was speaking? I can't see who's sitting next to Tia Ralph, but I see a hand there with a free.
Jonathan.
Okay, Jonathan.
Like scolding.
Yeah.
Yes, he was scolding him. He lacked compassion and he was very arrogant when he was speaking to him. And what do you think that Zophar thought about Job's innocence? Tio Ralph? Oh, sorry, let's let Tio Renee answer this since we already let you go.
Yeah, I mean, he thought that Jobs was guilty because even in one sentence, he said like you don't even know that God has forgiven your sin or something like that. He mentioned one of the lines, so
yes,
it was very.
He was carrying the same tune as his other previous friends who spoke to him, which was in the tune of "You did this. We're not sure what you did, but you're getting what you've deserved." And he even said possibly God is even giving him less than what he deserved, right? Indicating that it could even be worse based off of what he's done. So what is Zophar's advice for Job? What does he suggest he do? Okay, Tio Ralph.
So far, advice is that help how to understand God's wisdom, because he see things that he don't understand God, that he had done much worse and God have been merciful to him, so he not understanding God's wisdom.
But what action does he want to take? Like when we do something that's sinful, what are we supposed to do?
He need to repent,
Yes. Yes.
Ask for forgiveness.
Yes. Zophar is essentially saying, reach out to God, repent, tell him what you've done wrong, so this can be resolved. And so what does Zophar say that God will do if Job repents? Titinina, because this one is, I think, good. Like, what does he say if God will do if Job repents? What will he do? What will happen to Job?
So he repent.
He had to be.
What happened to him? What God will do? what God do when people repent?
He had to humiliate to God.
He'll be forgiven.
I didn't hear her. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brando.
You know, forgive the problem.
No, Brandon was telling that he wanna be forgiven for God.
Yeah, he's gonna be forgiven, and when you're forgiven and you receive God's glory, what do you get?
Redemption.
Blessings, bendiciones, right? He'll bless him and restore him if he goes and repents of what he's done to God. So my takeaways for this chapter are there are times in life which we may have to stand tall on our own without support here from humans, right? But we still have to stand true in our word, right? Job knows that he hasn't done it and he's still listening to all of these people and they're just battering him one after the other about telling him that he needs to do better. That these three individuals, his friends, are like considered what I would say are elders in the church, and they're supposed to be very wise individuals. And even though we are supposed to look up to them, that doesn't mean humans or elders always have the right answer, right? In this case, they think they know what's right, but they're not declaring what is right in this personal situation. And my last one is what we think we may know about a situation, meaning others like his friends, we don't necessarily know. Only God truly knows what's going on. So that's yes to you, Renee.
I just wanted to say, always come to mind, that the truth is absolute. So when I was going through my own personal problem that my ex-wife tried to cause for me, I stood facing up to heaven, and I always said, and I believe that's what got me through all my crises, that the truth is absolute. As long as God knows the truth, and you know the truth, that you're a righteous person and you haven't done anything wrong, doesn't matter what anyone thinks, as long as you remain focused that the truth is absolute, God knows the truth and you know the truth, and you believe with all your heart, you won't care what anyone think about you. You will continue to walk straight, facing up to heaven, and feeling that, the truth is absolute, no matter what anyone think of me, because I haven't done anything wrong.
Exactly. That is the exact message I was trying to communicate in that number one takeaway. So thank you for sharing your own experience with that. To Ralph.
Yeah, Diana, do you think this Job's friend Safar, was he just doing that out of innocent, or he trying to be a guy because he was like exaggerating everything, that he thinking that Joe was not a good guy, that he deserved more punishment actually than what he received from God because he was a sinner. So what do you think about this guy? What
So
is the behind this
when
action?
when I was reading the interpretations of from David Gusick in the Enduring Word Bible about this, they were bringing up the point that perhaps he was so passionate about this because they were getting so frustrated because Eliphaz had already passed the message, Bildad had already passed this message, and now Zophar is third in line giving Job the same message, and they were becoming overwhelmingly frustrated because he wouldn't. So that's why he was getting more harsh in this personal situation. And what they believed in that time was that you were only getting punished like that if you were doing bad, right? And so that's why. And I would say that I've recently had a discussion with actually someone at work who doesn't necessarily go to church and so forth, but for some reason she heard something about the chapter of Job and was studying it herself, and she told me, I found this chapter very interesting because or not this chapter, but this book very interesting because Job was innocent, and I thought people only got bad things to happen to them if they did something, right? So it's a theme that can continue on where that feeling is there.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
I stopped the recording.
Yes.